Welcome back to the Centier Bank studio, and now we're here with the Region Football Wrap-Up. We're back here. I'm Mike Dewan, your host, and I'm here with the former Andrean 59er, Rick Novak. This was long story short, this was an incredible weekend. We've been sitting around for the past few minutes just looking at all these scores, and yeah, there were a couple blowouts, but it was an unreal weekend. I mean,
it really was a lot of close games, a lot of games with a lot of big implications to them. You know, you talk about Indiana, the regular season doesn't mean anything. Well, that's, tell that to the teams playing tonight, because I think you had a lot of teams playing for a lot tonight. Pride, conference positioning, it was a real good night for football in the region.
Completely. It's what it's all about. So we're going to kind of run through the scores a little bit, kind of go through all the games, and this is what we got. With Bishop Knoll and River Forest. River Forest got the dub here, 49-0. They move with 4 wins on the year. Bishop Knoll drops to 2-5. Our number 9th ranked, our Boone Grove Wolves, they put up another offensive onslaught on the Whiting Oilers, 55-7. Boone Grove gets the win. That's their 5th of the year. Whiting drops to 2-5. Calumet and Wheeler gets another win there, their 4th straight of the season, 38-8 over Calumet. They move to 4-3. Calumet drops to 2-5. The Battle of Hammond, this was a big talk going into this week. And Morton, I mean, they were my prediction, I think, going into this, but we could pump the brakes on this score. But 56-3. Morton, I mean, what? Did you see this coming?
I mean, I thought Morton was going to win as well. I did not think that they were going to win by over 50 points. I mean, both these teams played twice last year, and it was pretty close, both games. And we talked earlier, Hammond Central came away with a 1-point victory in sectionals. So you would expect the game this year to be relatively close as well. But Morton, what a statement. I mean, talk about trying to reestablish yourself as the dominant football power at Hammond. I mean, this game tonight was just nothing, like I said, nothing less than a statement, because they went out there and they dominated this game in every single aspect.
I mean, completely. It's that they won that city back, that's for sure. Again, Morton 56, Hammond Central 3. We move on to the Battle of the Bridge, and it broke my heart. My Mustangs 27, Highland 28, went to overtime. Highland scored first in OT, and Munster, they scored in first play. Had a chance. They went for 2, and they got stuffed. Creds to Highland. They win the Bridge once again, man. It's what football's all about. Another great rivalry game, another close one, and breaks my heart, man. We move on to 5v2, Hobart and Hanover, and again, we could pump the brakes a little bit here, but Hanover, man, 2 NCC guys right here talking about the conference, and this, wow, 31-26, Hanover moves to 7-0 on the year. Sole possession of first place of the NCC. Brickies fall to 5-2, and that's, I mean, what can we say? I mean, I was going to say we could talk about this a little later, but this is unlike something we've probably ever seen. A team walk in 3A school, and they ran the table, and this is their destiny right now. They choose their fate.
Yeah, they control their destiny for sure, and it's nothing less than impressive. I mean, it's a huge credit to Coach Parker and those kids down there in Cedar Lake for what they've done. They built a great program. You know, this school didn't play football 10 years ago. I mean, I graduated less than 10 years ago. They didn't have a football team.
It's crazy.
You know, and to see the level they built this program to in such a short time, I mean, it's very impressive. And right now, I think that they're looking like they're going to run the conference here their first, year, and it's a shock, to be honest. Like I said, I thought that they were going to be one of the better teams.
Yes.
I did not expect them to run the conference like this, and I hope this wakes up everybody else, because there's a new sheriff in town, and
completely,
you better get used to it unless you want to do something about it.
Because I don't think they're going away. Caden Verrett had a fantastic game. No. Jack Thiel and I, we always harmonize with this kid, and how, again, what I've noticed is the junior wave of talent coming up, especially Caden Verrett, who's a junior. He's one of the many of class of 2025 who's going to, of course, be in the area next year. But he's a guy that, again, could lead Hanover to not only their first ever NCC title, but that he could do it again next year. This team is, again, new sheriff in town, and they're going to be around for a while. Moving on, we got the South Central Satellites getting their 3rd win of the year over the Lake Station Fighting Eagles, 61-8. And I'm going to pump the brakes here, because apparently Aaron Hogan of South Central set a school record with 8 total touchdowns in the game. 8. I mean, what's that fantasy numbers looking like for that week? I mean,
that's like 50 points.
I hope you didn't bench him. That's if that's true, let us know in the comments, the South Central faithful, if you guys were there. But we heard from sources that he just had probably the best performance of the year by any player.
Maybe the best performance in South Central history. I mean, right? I mean, 8 touchdowns. That's
school record. I mean,
yeah.
I'm tired just reading that. That's crazy. Moving on, Crown Point doing their business. Again, they played LaPorte, 42 for Crown Point, nothing for LaPorte. Crown Point get their 7th win of the season, 7-0. LaPorte falls to 1-6. Moving on to, again, going to the Duneland. Number 10, Lake Central, down at half, 7-14. Clawed their way back against a Chesterton team they haven't beaten since 2016. LC 20, Chesterton 17. We could talk about that a little bit coming later, but I guess we could discuss now. I mean, we haven't seen LC go into Chesterton. I mean, just win. I mean, in this gauntlet, it's something we haven't seen in a while. And creds to Rick Good and the team for coming back.
Yeah, we talked about earlier at Lake Central in their last 3 games since 2017. They're 1-17. It's an absolute slog. Those last 3 games, it's very, very tough. So for them to come out and get that victory, especially last week after they we got some background noise, unfortunately. I think we're gonna go to break very quickly. Sorry
fair.
about that, everybody. We're gonna go to break, get these technical difficulties dealt with, and we'll come back right here at the Centier Bank Studio on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors, plus built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til to go. Our to-go service is easy to use and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
From schools to stadiums, hospitals, and bridges, everywhere you look, Union Carpenters are building Indiana. With jobs and skilled trades in high demand, there's never been a better time to start building your future. As an apprentice, you'll earn a debt-free college degree, earn while you learn, and receive great benefits like healthcare and retirement. So what are you waiting for? Visit carpenters.com to learn more. Visit carpenters.com and start building your future today.
If you work with industrial, pneumatics, or hydraulics, and you're in need of maintenance or repair, you need the right connection. For over 20 years, Hose Connections in Hammond has been the premier leader in the hydraulics industry. Hose Connections is a one-stop shop for sales and service of pneumatics and hydraulics. Hose Connections continues to grow their network of industry contacts, which allows them to meet even your toughest expectations. To learn more, visit HoseConnectionsInc.com. Hose Connections in Hammond. Proven under pressure.
Back here at the Centier Bank Studio, and it wouldn't be a typical Friday night if there wasn't a little bit of technical difficulty, so we apologize for that, but we are back in action. We are all good. So we're picking up where we left
Right.
off, back in the
Where were we?
Duneland. Again, LC, a huge win, the first win against Chesterton since 2016. I mean, again, credit to Rick Good and the players, but it's a huge win for LC. Momentum going into this 3-game gauntlet, or 2-game gauntlet now that they got coming up.
It really is. I was shocked when you told me that they hadn't beat Chesterton since 2016. I mean, that's 7 years, and usually these teams are pretty evenly matched. So I would expect LC to be able to get some victories in that time span. But what a great victory for them tonight. I mean, they really needed this. Last week they lost a very deflating game to Michigan City, a game they thought that they had won. A second gets put back on the clock and they lose. So to come out and come back, not even just win, but come back late in the fourth quarter to get this victory. Maybe this is a program kind of turnaround victory for them. They needed something like this, something to build upon, and they have a couple more tough games here to end, but they needed some momentum like this.
Especially, and I mean, you hate to look at hypotheticals, but if things go their way against Michigan City, they have one conference loss. But you don't want to look at hypotheticals, but it's
exactly. I mean, they could potentially. I mean, if things had went their way against Michigan City, they're at 5 wins and they're going to have an over 500 record, and they haven't had that in a few seasons.
Yeah.
So it's that they say football is a game of inches, and the football gods giveth and they taketh away sometimes. So. But tonight, LC went out there and they got a much needed victory.
Much needed. Again, the old adage is to have a mind of a goldfish, according to Ted Lasso, and they did just that. They flushed that heartbreaking defeat that they had last week on their homecoming, and they took care of business against a very solid Chesterton team.
Exactly.
Moving on, another fantastic storyline, fantastic game. The KV Cougars, 38. The Lowell Red Devils, 14. You don't hear of that too often.
No, I mean, I think this is KV's third victory ever against Lowell. I mean, that's...
I think first since, I thought I heard 2012.
Yeah, I mean, it's
been a minute.
Lowell has dominated this series for a long time. I mean, basically the entirety of the time. And you got Coach Kennedy going back into the Inferno. Actually, he was at KV, so he wasn't going. But Coach Kennedy playing the team that he helped put on the map and sort of put him on the map, too, to be honest. So him going in there, getting that victory, KV going in there, getting that victory against a team that's been a perennial power in the NCC, it's got to feel good. And again, we talked about a program turning victory for LC, and I think this could be kind of the same thing for KV. Lowell's a little down this year, yes,
yeah.
but still to be able to go and beat them decisively, that's not something KV has done in a long time. So big ups to Coach Kennedy and his boys tonight.
Definitely. It's keeping it going on. I think we had the game of the week. And, of course, it's only here at RSN. You know how we do things. But it was our number 4 Maryville Pirates traveling to number 3, the Valparaiso Vikings. And the Vikings, again, dropped this regular season game last year. Obviously got their get back in the regional round. But Valpo 26, Maryville 24, a fantastic game. I mean, we saw it all 3 phases of the ball. I mean, talk to me about it, my man.
I mean, it was a great game. It was probably for my money, it was the best game I've watched in the region this year.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to call their regional game last year, and it was a great game. And these two teams, it's a rivalry. I don't think they really hate each other, so to speak, but they want to beat each other really bad. And it's definitely this is probably a preview of another regional matchup, I would say. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here because anything can happen. But these two teams are very good, and they very easily could play each other in another regional matchup. At Maryville, they controlled most of the first half. I mean, they were moving the ball very well on offense, and the Valpo offense, without Thomas Davis, was struggling to get things going. They had multiple block kicks in that first half. They were struggling. But then at the end of that half, Julian Stokes, a big kickoff return for a touchdown after a Maryville field goal. And at that point, Valpo seemed to kind of get their mojo back, especially defensively. Because the second half, it was 20-17 going into the half, and both teams only scored a touchdown in the second half. It was a defensive struggle there, and Valpo just had just enough to be able to win out here. So it's a great victory for the Vikings, but they got to have in the back of their mind, like, hey, we might see these guys again, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, so much talent on both sides of the ball, and I think it was kind of a game where two of probably the area's best defenses and two offenses that were, again, maybe unhealthy, as we mentioned with Valpo and Travis Davis, but it's kind of two offenses that need to kind of rely a little bit on their defense and maybe, again, work with the short field, which we kind of talked about in the first half. Punting was a big kind of factor for team scoring, and, of course, Julian Stokes had that huge kickoff return, which was our IKORCC play of the game. We also had our player of the game, Thomas Berta, the Lantern Man player of the game. He stepped up in Davis's absence, 2 touchdowns, many yards. I mean, talk about it a little bit. I mean, you can almost put anybody behind that O-line. I mean, credit to Berta and, of course, Davis for what he's done this year, but that O-line is something special.
Yeah, Valpo's O-line, they've got, from tackle to tackle, they've got average close to 300 pounds, I think. I mean, They've got some big boys there. And Clark can run it himself, and I think that helps when you've got a quarterback who keeps the defense honest with his legs. That helps your running game too, because Valpo, they like to run a lot of options and things. So I think Berta, he really stepped up. I mean, last year he had to step up when Thomas Davis got injured because Davis was out for a chunk of the season last year as well. So it's not like Berta was, unfamiliar with varsity reps or anything like that. He's not Davis. Thomas Davis was probably the best back in the area, but
I'd say
he's still very, very good. He would probably start for almost any other team in the area. So it's not like he's a slouch himself. And that, like we said, that offensive line, you could put almost anybody behind him, and they could run for some yardage behind those big boys. So Valpo, I mean, they've got an identity. They're going to run the football. That's what they want to do. They don't want to pass unless they have to.
Right.
And tonight, they were able to stick within their game plan, keep pounding the rock, play good defense, win battles of field position, and make enough plays to be able to come out with a victory.
Shout out to the big boys. And got to give a shout out, of course, to Maryville. They did what they could. Again, it was a game where it probably was an uphill battle.
It was a struggle, I think. Both these offenses were really dealing with some tough defenses. And I think Maryville, their offense all year has been a little inconsistent, if we're being honest. And they're still trying to maybe find what they do best on offense. And luckily for them, they still have a few more games before, the playoffs to be able to kind of get that all set in stone. Valpo, I think, is kind of the same basic storyline because when you lose a guy like Davis, who's so much the focal point of your offense, you kind of have to regroup and retool the whole offense after that. So I think we're going to see Valpo's offense start to change a little bit more too here going into the playoffs as they get used to Davis not being in the game. And I think when these two teams potentially meet again in the playoffs, we'll see two totally different offenses here. And I think it's very exciting to think about these two teams potentially playing again because we just saw a great game tonight, and the rematch probably will be even better.
They're due for a rematch. They got to be
Exactly.
again. And one weapon of Maryville that we have to shout out is our Boilermakers 374 blue collar player of the game, which was John Peters, the Pirates wide receiver. He made a fantastic catch that we were watching live in here, and it was tip drill, caught it with one hand and took it to the house. And he's got a couple plays on defense too, but that's a guy to look out for the rest of the season and maybe a potential part two. But we'll keep it moving, keep this train rolling. We got keeping it with the Duneland. We have our 6th-ranked Michigan City Wolves at home over Portage, 21-8, moving to 4-3 on the year. Keeping it going. We have Westside and Griffith in a very, very solid game here. Westside 14, Griffith 13. Griffith was riding high into this game. They've won 3 straight going into this, and they were at home. And Westside was coming off a tough loss last week. And from what I predicted, I liked Griffith in this game. And from what I don't know. I mean, it was a prove-it game for both squads. And I mean, what'd you see, Rick?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually catch any of the game. Just looking at the box, 14-13. It was 8-0 Westside at halftime. This was a very close game. 2 pretty evenly matched teams, I think. Like I said, it's hard for me to really comment on it because I did not actually see it. Personally, I did think Griffith was going to win coming in. They had won 3 in a row. And they kind of seemed to be putting some things together. And all their losses, they lost to Munster and they lost to Highland
Hammond too.
And Hammond, but the losses to Highland and Munster were both pretty close.
Sure.
So I was expecting, maybe them to come out and be able to get a victory here, but it goes to show, there's no easy games in any conference.
No.
I think when you're playing a conference, so even if it's a team like Westside who's just now coming into the conference and kind of getting familiarized with all the teams, it's hard to win these games in any conference you're in. So great job by Westside to go out there and get another conference victory. And Griffith, they're just going to have to regroup, and it's on to the next week.
Yes, sir. That's really all you could do. Phil Mason. You know him just as well as probably anybody in this company, and he's going to get those guys right for the last few games. And
oh yeah, I think coming in, he's just trying to build those guys up, that program up to what its glory years, and it's not going to happen overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day, so to speak.
No,
so they're going to take their bumps and bruises, but I got complete faith in him, to be completely honest. If there's a guy that can do it, it's him. So
Got you. And then Andrean traveled to Indy Chittard. That was a 41-0 loss to the Trojans of Indy Chittard. Again, I credit Andrean a lot because they pride themselves on we're a 2A school, but not a 2A schedule. And this is, again, playing a Chittard team that is 6-0, now 7-0. Won state last year. It's one of the most dominant programs in the state as of late, and you got to give credit to Andrean. It's an uphill battle going down there, and and play in that. But it's part of their MO. And
Yeah, I mean, I think
what could you do?
for Andrean, I think it's it's not about the regular season. It's about what you put in
It's
your
true.
trophy case, to be honest. So obviously, you don't want to get blown out 41-0 at any point. I think that's you never want the running clock to be put on you.
No,
but you're playing a team that's very, very good. They dominated 3A last year to a state championship, and to be honest, they probably will do so again.
It's looking like it.
So you're playing a very good, Andrean, you look at their non-conference, it's Maryville, Valparaiso, and Chittard. I mean, I don't know.
It doesn't get better than that.
I don't think so, especially not from a 2A school. So
No.
for them, it's all about that iron sharpens iron philosophy, and how can we prepare our guys to make a deep run, especially because this team is very young. I mean, they've got a lot of sophomores, juniors. They've even got freshmen playing. So
Yeah.
it's all about how can we get these guys the best experience against the best competition, so when their time is ready in terms of 2A playoffs, etc., they're ready to go.
And then tomorrow we got the EC Cardinals, who are 1-5. They play Parkview Christian out of Illinois, who was 2-3 on the year. And North Newton Spartans battle the South Bend Clay Colonials. And that's it for the scores. But it's again, you could check all the scores in the finals out on the Strack and Van Til hometown scoreboard. I think we're going to take a quick little break, and then we are going to come back and kind of talk about a little bit of next week. And I think we'll kind of just see where these teams kind of stack up going into the final 2 weeks of the season. So this is of course have been the Region Football Wrap-Up Show on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Have you checked out Centier Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Centier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
Welcome back to the Centier Bank Studio. This is the Region Football Wrap-Up, only on the Region Sports Network. Mike Dewan here with Rick Novak. And, again, now we're going to kind of lay out – we're kind of going to look ahead a little bit. We talked about the scores. We talked about the heartbreaks, the thrilling wins, and all that, and the players to watch. But now we got to move a little bit onward. And I think we were kind of discussing a little bit of our top 10 going into the week, and now we're going to kind of look ahead and see how this list kind of shapes out. So for the viewers that maybe aren't familiar with our top 10 going into this week, Our number one team was Crown Point, followed by Hanover Central. Third was the Valparaiso Vikings, followed by the Maryville Pirates. Fifth was the Hobart Brickies. Sixth was the Michigan City Wolves. Seventh spot was the Hammond Central Wolves, followed by Morton. 9 was the Boone Grove Wolves. A lot of Wolves in this countdown. And then the number 10 was Lake Central. Our bubble teams were Griffith, Andrean, and Wheeler. And if you were following along, there's a few teams that lost. And again, we had 3 top 10 matchups, but it's tough to penalize teams. I'm sure you can comment on this, but it's tough to penalize teams that maybe did not come out victorious, but played a very solid team, maybe lost by a score or 10 or 13. And I don't know if we could dock them that far.
Yeah, I think we're looking at Maryville, Hobart there. Maryville a 2-point loss to Valparaiso, Hobart a 7-point loss, or not even a 5-point loss, I believe. It was 31-26.
Yes.
So a 5-point loss to Hanover. So, when you're playing, other top 5 teams and you play them within a touchdown, I don't think you should be penalized for that, in my opinion, because we watched those games and they were very close.
Yes. It's a lot of those games where, again, one play goes a different way and we're talking about a team differently. So we kind of discussed a little bit with our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, and everybody else that, we always kind of try and get ready for next week and brainstorm and who's going to be where. And I think Crown Point stays at 1. They've done business. I mean, it's rinse and repeat every week. I mean,
until someone, at this point, I don't think anyone in the area has beaten them this year, so I don't think you can knock them off the number 1 spot.
Very few people have held the flame, and I forgot to mention, we do have some awards to hand out since that was one of our game nights in the region built by Von Tobel. Our Lantern Man player of the game of that LaPorte and Crown Point game was Landon Delich. He had 100-plus yards through the air as a receiver, and he had a score. Our Boilermakers 374 blue-collar player of the game is the Buffalo commit linebacker Will Clark. He had 2 tackles for loss, and like always, he's just all over the field making plays, anchoring that defense. And the IKOR-CC play of the game was a Larry Ellison 30-yard touchdown for Crown Point in the second quarter. Again, another one of the weapons that just makes this team so great, and it's tough to see who stops this team. I mean, I don't know if you have any plans on stopping this team, from your end. But for me, I haven't seen anything yet.
No, they're very complete. On offense, they can run the ball, they can throw the ball. On defense, their secondary is very good, and their front 7 is very good. So it's going to take a complete team to beat them. I think they're in a position to make a long playoff run. Does that mean that they can take on whoever comes out of Indy? That's a whole nother story, I think. But in terms of going deep in the playoffs, I think they're very well positioned for that right now. I don't think there's any team in the region that's been able. They played the 2 other best teams, or 2 of the 2 other best teams in the region, Valpo and Maryville, and they beat both of them. So it's hard to say that these guys aren't the number 1 team, or to think of who can even possibly compete with them around here.
No, sir. I think their floor is a sectional championship.
I would
really
agree.
hold this guy to hold this team to a very high standard. And looking at their sectional, correct me if I'm wrong, or correct me again in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think their sectional is Lake Central, who it was a closer game for Crown Point standards, but they did well against them. They play Lafayette Jefferson, who they lost to last year, but I don't think this is the same Lafayette Jefferson team or the same Crown Point team that lost to them last year.
No.
And I think, what is
Portage.
the other team? Portage.
Yes.
Thank you. Again, that's a team that they did business with this year, and they did very well with. So
the sectional lines up very nicely for them. That's for sure. I think when you look at the regional, you got either probably Penn or Fort Wayne Carroll, who was the 6A North representative of Lucas Oil last year. That is a little bit a harder matchup, and I think if we're getting very much ahead of ourselves here, but a projected matchup in regionals against one of those 2 teams, that's going to be tough.
It's about that time, though,
but,
man. I think we're getting there, dude.
And Crown Point, they want to take that next level, that next step to be at that level. They got to win those kind of games. Last year, no one thought that they'd run the table in the conference, but it was kind of a letdown, losing in that sectional championship. they got to win that sectional. They got to win that regional if they want to get to that next level that Coach Bazia wants them at, and why he came back to Indiana.
I'm completely with you. And then we're going to move to our potential 2 spot. But I think, again, Hanover, pound for pound, I mean, again, I think they're one of 2 undefeated teams, 7-0 teams in the area. Granted, maybe they're not better than these DAC teams that maybe below them, the Valpos and Maryvilles, but it's what they've done against very solid NCC competition, a very solid Hobart team. I think we got to give them their flowers once again, and like we said before, they control their destiny for the rest of this conference.
Yeah, I think you can say, a projected matchup against Valpo, maybe Valpo would be favored, but also you have to give this team credit. I mean, they've ran the table now in the regular season 3-4 years in a row. I mean, the dominance they've had is nothing less than impressive. So
I thought I saw today that they haven't lost a home game since 2018.
I mean,
so
yeah,
I was a junior in high school, and now I'm turning 22 tomorrow. I mean, so it's it's crazy how dominant this team has been.
You have to give them credit. I mean, you can say, oh, they're 3A, oh, they're not playing as good of competition, but no, man, they deserve to be number 2 in my opinion. They have totally answered any test that they've been given for the past multiple years, so they've more than earned that spot.
Again, and then 3 and 4, of course, we're going to give it to Valpo, which their spot they were prior to this week, but we can kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say interchangeable, but Valpo and Maryville is probably going to be in that 3 and 4 spot. It's, again, 2 teams that obviously are pretty evenly matched, and 2 teams that could see themselves playing each other for a very high-stakes game in the future, a deja vu kind of thing of last year.
No, I mean, exactly. I think these teams might be on a collision course again.
Yeah.
And we saw their game tonight. It was extremely close. And with Valpo, with Thomas Davis potentially being out now, it's a whole nother ball. It's a whole new world. I mean, it's going to be close. I think if these 2 teams play each other again, last year was decided by a point, and it could be decided by a point again. I mean, they're very, very evenly matched. They both have great defenses. Their offenses are kind of struggling to find their way right now. So I definitely think those are 3 and 4 in the region for sure.
So.
And like we said, I think they are on a collision course to potentially play again. So, and that'll be fun.
Always, man. Again, let us know in the comments who's who's your ideal list. I mean, who's your top 10? Let us know. Hey, maybe we'll shout you out. Maybe we're missing somebody that we're not covering, but we try to give a voice of the voiceless tonight a little bit. So, again, moving on. Again, 5 and 6 spot. I think it's kind of interchangeable. I think Michigan City, again, a 21-8 win against a Portage team that I think their record, you and I both talked about it, is kind of deceptive. And 0-7 is, of course, you see that record and it's, you think of the worst, but I think they're a team that fights. Of course, they have the coach to kind of lead them in that direction, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes I expect a little more from City. Again, if things go a different way last week, who knows where they are in this ranks. And again, Hobart, I think they, again, gave Hanover Central the toughest test of the season, had it down at the goal line with, a couple, I think a minute left, and a fourth and medium, and they couldn't get it done. So it's, again, a couple plays that could really shake out this list, and it's, I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, man?
I definitely think Hobart came in and played Hanover very tough, and I think that they really took the whole Hanover coming in, winning the NCC thing very personally, and I think that they were really trying to win this game. And like you said, when you're playing a team that's just as good as you, it really ends up coming down to just a few plays, and they couldn't get it done there in pretty good great field position to be able to punch it in to tie the game, and they just couldn't convert. So I still think that they're probably a top 5 team in the area. I think they've gotten better from when I've seen them to start the year, and I think they're still getting better. Michigan City, look, they played a team against Portage. That Portage, like we said, they're better than 0-7, and also, Coach Richards coached there for the past however many years with Coach Mason, so he's very familiar with them, and he's a defensive coach, so he's going to understand how to take away their best players.
That's a good point.
So, and they've had some struggles on offense this year anyway.
I agree.
So it's not really surprising to me that they only scored 21 points, only won by 13, but their defense has been very good. They only gave up 8 points. Their defense has kind of been carrying them in these games. You say, oh, if something happened different last week against LC, they'd be lower in the rankings. Well, it didn't.
Exactly.
So,
it's all what if,
it's
hearsay.
Exactly, so it's, like we said, those couple plays in the game. So I still think Hobart, Michigan City, they're at that 5-6 range. I think they're probably pretty even there.
I'd say
think.
so. It's, again, pound for pound, kind of looking at who they played. Of course, using this logic, I mean, we do kind of give the flowers to the DAC teams who, again, greatest, toughest conference probably in the area, but we got to give a shout out to, I mean, teams that may be in lower conferences who we'll kind of get to a little bit later, but I think we also got to shout out who could be in that 5 and 6 range. I mean, Morden put on a show tonight. It's
they really did, and they're playing Hobart next week.
That's going to be a great game.
So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Morden looks like they've turned a corner a little bit. The past couple of years post-consolidation, they've had very tough schedules. I think they were kind of consolidating a school is a tough thing. You know,
Yeah.
you got to take 3 different schools, kind of meld the cultures together. That can take some time, especially when you're playing very tough competition. They've taken some licks. They've been very young the past few years. Now those guys that were young those past few years are experienced, a little bit older. Now they're putting the beats on some teams, and their schedule here, they got Hobart, and then one more game. They got to be thinking, hey, let's build some momentum going into regionals. Maybe we'll have a shot in Maryville. You know, I mean, Munster, Maryville, Hammond Morden, and Hammond Central, that's the sectional. You got to think right now it's looking like Morden and Maryville are going to come to blows at some point. Morden, they just got to let's keep getting better, and who knows, maybe they've already beaten one DAC team this year. So why not make it 2?
It's a very intriguing matchup. Again, we don't want to look too far ahead when sectional drawings have yet to come out, but it's, you kind of piece it together and the teams to beat.
It's impossible not to, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of to the point where it's, again, you got to start looking forward to the best time of the year,
exactly.
where your quest for Lucas Oil really comes alive, and it doesn't get much better than this. And again, you don't want to look ahead, but it's about that time, man. We're getting there. We're getting there. And then so after Morton, then I think we get to, the kind of the teams that, again, pound for pound, what they're doing. I'm going to go Boone Grove. I think I love this team. I think with how much they throw the ball, it's so uncommon in the area. You always think of, 10 toes in the dirt, and you're running the ball. And they throw it around. Again, they put up scoring outbursts like this against an okay Whiting team. Again, they haven't beat Whiting, I think, in 3 years, and they travel to Whiting. Again, they're probably different teams from these previous matchups. But again, another 55-point outburst for Boone Grove. I like what the quarterback play of Mark Rowland. I like what they're doing.
He's by far leading the area in passing yardage.
Yes.
I mean, they can throw the ball around all over the place. They're basically playing basketball on a football field. So I definitely like what they're doing. And like you said, it's totally a change of pace from what the other teams in the area do. Most teams in the area want to run the football.
Completely.
And coaches know that, so what do? They build their defenses to stop the run. So if you're coming out as a pass-first offense, that can be very advantageous against all these defenses that are built to stop the run. And you can get teams that, by their natural defensive structure, are not good against your offense. So we've seen them this year put up a lot of points, and that's probably part of the reason there. They're so good at throwing the ball, and they're catching defenses that are built to stop the run.
Completely. And their defense is solid too, but about their offense, you kind of hear of these run-dominant teams that keep running the ball, and defenses want to stack the box. I think they do something different. I think they're a throw-dominant team, so DBs and linebackers are maybe playing a little bit off the ball, not stacking the box, kind of playing the pass, and they could still run the ball too. I know Roland, he has some legs of his own. They got a good running game, and when the DBs and linebackers are maybe off the ball, kind of giving them cushion, you could run a little draw play or something, and you can go get 5-6 yards a pop. So again, I love this offense, and I think they deserve their flowers from what they've been doing.
Exactly. I mean, no, they've been very dominant. I mean, they're definitely putting up a lot of points, and you got to respect them. You got to respect what they're doing. That's
it. I think we're gonna go to LC. We'll talk. Actually, okay, we're gonna go to a break. We'll finish out our last 2 teams, but this has been the Region Football Wrap Up here in the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate, to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Growing up in Northwest Indiana, I am proud that my family's been doing business here for nearly 100 years, which started with my grandfather, John Gladish. Over my career, I've witnessed families being torn apart by the negligence of others, everything from unguarded openings at construction sites to reckless driving on our roads. Our experienced attorneys, paralegals, and staff know that insurance companies and their lawyers will go to great lengths to avoid paying compensation. Do not waste your one and only opportunity to seek fair compensation for your loss. Give the Gladish Law Group a call and put our team to work for you.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors. Plus, built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
How far would you go to relive another Friday night under the lights? Well, lucky for you, you don't need to go that far at all. At Region Sports Network, we have a collection of over thousands of games, ranging from last week to the 1960s. Now, you can relive the thrilling victories, the heartbreaking defeats, and all the things that make Friday Night Lights so great. Talk to us here at RSN and help us remember the region. Please visit Remember the Region with the link on the screen or through our link tree found on our social media platforms. Hashtag Remember the Region. Welcome back to the Centier Bank studio, and this is the Region Football Wrap-Up. Mike Dewan here with Rick Novak, and we're going to kind of round out our potential top 10 for next week, but we were kind of mentioning LC, again, a very, very tough win going to Chesterton, a team that they haven't beaten in a couple years, and again, hate looking at it, hearsay, what happened here, what happened there, but again, that's a very solid win, and they could have one loss in the conference. You got to, again, flush anything that happened, especially, how last week went. And it's, again, credit to Rick Good, Coach Rick Good, and the rest of his squad for getting a tough win in a hostile environment.
Yeah, I think they've been kind of a borderline team all year long, and we just needed to see them get a signature victory. I think last week
that's true. They
almost had it, but this week they finally got it. I think it's fair to put them in that top 10. Their defense is very good, and I think their offense is still kind of finding their way. And a lot of teams in the area, to be honest. I mean, it's still late in the season, but it goes to show you that this process of football, it takes a long time to really find the identity of a team. Sometimes it can take a whole season, unfortunately.
Hey, better late than never to find your identity.
Exactly.
And again, of course, we keep mentioning. Well, sorry to interrupt, but no. we have again playoffs coming up, and it's better to find it now than never.
Exactly, and I think they're getting Xavier Williams back. He's their focal point of their offense, so maybe they could start putting some wins together here and. Like I had their game against Crown Point a couple weeks ago. In the first half, it was 15-0 Crown Point, and that's without Williams. So, maybe LC, they start building some momentum, start finding their identity offense more. They're going to probably get a second shot at Crown Point potentially, and who knows? Anything can happen in high school football, and it's hard to beat the same team twice.
Yeah, I'm sure they're itching for that rematch. Again, it's an uphill battle if they were to do it again with CP, but it's, again, they didn't have Xavier Williams in that first game, and I thought LC played a very solid football game against a very talented Crown Point team, and getting a player like him back, it opens up a lot for that offense. Me and Jack Thuel have talked about it plenty of times. We were on the call for that last game against City, and it's what he brings to the offense is again, it helps you find that identity, what you need for postseason play.
Exactly. I think, they've got some solid receivers on the outside, and Kwiatkowski can throw it a little bit. So you bring him back in there, make the defense kind of stack the box a little bit, softens up the defense outside, and you can throw it around a little bit more.
Yep. And then I think we're going to round it out, I think we're going to go with the Wheeler Bearcats. I think they are a team, they've won 4 straight, again, looking for pound. Again, of course, we could put the teams that maybe are not so hot in the DAC above them because they are a team that if they were to match up with Wheeler, they'd probably beat them. But that's not our case. It's something that, again, what they do against their respective competition, we're going to give them credit for it. And, again, they're a team that, honestly, us as a company, we maybe have slept on. They started out 0-3. They played teams very well. They played Hanover, I think, in the opener, and then KV. Again, non-conference games that may be a little above their pay grade, but since conference play started, they're kind of the team to beat in their respective division, and they beat a Calumet team that has given them kind of trouble in the past by a convincing score of 38-8. So credit to Wheeler, and again, what do you got to say?
I mean, 4 in a row. I mean, they've won 4 in a row. I mean, it's tough to start a season out 0-3, but like you said, they played. I believe they had Rensselaer, they had KV, they had some tough competition, some bigger schools, some good schools. So, and they played those teams close, and they're starting to build something there. I think starting to maybe find their identity. 4 wins in a row going into the sectional. Maybe they can put something together here too. I mean, it's all about finding yourself right now and being the best team that you can be for the playoffs, for those elimination games. And it doesn't matter how you start, because right now Wheeler's playing very good, and they definitely got to be a top 10 team.
They got some dogs too. Caleb Klemzak, their junior quarterback, who's up there on our leaderboards for passing yards. They got Jaden Ortiz as a running back. They got a couple receivers that can go up and go get it. Bryce Compton and Tyne Vinicle are both on our top 10 leaderboards, and they got some defensive pieces too. I mean, they are a team that, again, are also pretty young from what I remember. It's, again, this junior wave I'm so amazed with, because there's just so many pieces that are going to come back, not only for the rest of the season, but for the rest, next year. So it's, I don't know. I'm going to ask you one question before we kind of wrap this thing up. But, again, you going to Andrean, and you had plenty of postseason success and kind of getting ready for postseason. We're now going into Week 8. And what's kind of your message to the players that, again, getting ready for some of the biggest games of your career? I mean, this is, it's a whole different regular season, a whole different beast. And kind of what's that mindset like going into postseason play?
Well, I think, you got to use these last 2 games to really tighten everything up, because these 2 games are the last 2 where nobody goes home after they lose. People are still going to be playing after they lose these next 2 games. So once after that happens, if you lose, you're gone. So these last 2 games, they got to be picture perfect, and we got to make sure for the playoffs that we're playing our absolute best. And also, I think from a coaching perspective, it's let's not get anybody hurt right now. Let's make sure we go in to the playoffs as healthy as we can, and make sure that we give our guys the best chance to make as deep as run as we can. So I think, like I said, it's about playing your best, but also playing with some restraint, actually playing not recklessly, and understanding like, hey, there's deeper things that we have to do right now than just these last 2 games if we want to, hoist those trophies at the end of the season. Yep.
The road to the Lucas Oil is starting soon, everybody. But just before we go, we're going to annoy you one more time with a thing we got going on here. Again, we got tapes, we got CDs, we got VHSs, stuff, film reels that I don't even know of. That's older than that's older than our parents. It's, again, we have such a crazy collection here of games, all high school games across the area, and we're trying to do something that to help us preserve and digitize all this collection that we have. Because as I believe Chris Ramirez said, our executive producer said last week, we have a crazy collection to the point where if we were to spend time on digitizing this and kind of distributing this to somebody that can get it out to the public, it would take us a copious amounts of time, and you guys could help us with that on our GoFundMe that we just kind of released to the public. It's called Remember the Region. You could find the link on our link tree and our social media platforms kind of all across the area.
But, it's at the bottom of the stream, I believe, as well. And please go donate.
Shout out Justin Cole, man, the producer, behind the keys. Exactly. I was wondering what he was saying, but he's got it all hooked up for us. Again, check out that link below. And again, guys, it's all for a good cause.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, I think. There's a lot of great games we have, and it'd be a shame to lose them, because honestly, these are the last place that they're at. Some of these games. We have the Chris was talking about the Gavitt sectional championship team with 13 players dressed.
Yeah, that's a crazy story.
We've got the Carmel Highland semi-state game with Highland defeating Carmel to go to state. We've got some great games recorded, and it really would be a shame if they were, lost to the dustbin of history, so to speak.
It's true.
We're trying to get this GoFundMe. It'll be a digital library of all the games. You'll be able to go watch them whenever you can or whenever you want to. So it's really a worthwhile cause. Remember the Region, GoFundMe.com. Donate anything you can. It's much appreciated.
You got it, man. And then again, even if you're just not, if you're a basketball fan too, we got
football. Yeah,
we got everything. So again, if you like basketball too, again, help us out. Again, check out the link that our great producer Justin Cole posted up there, as well as it's on the link tree and everything else. But that's really all we got. We're going to stop annoying you here, and we got to get to bed soon. But, hey, Rick, anything else to kind of send us off for the night?
Hey, it was a great week of football, and I can't wait for next week.
Another one in the books, man. It's flying by, man. We're having a good time here at Region Sports Network, and I think that's all on the Region Football Wrap-Up. It caps off a fantastic week. First, of course, I want to thank, again, Rick, you know, I'm mainly riding your coattails tonight. This is my first time on the host, so man, it's
only my second time. So
hey, man, we're a bunch of rookies here, so hopefully we're not spreading too much misinformation. But I think we're doing all right. But again, I want to give a special thanks to our producer Justin Cole, who again just done everything tonight. You know, all the guys in the office, James Chalos, Skibbs, we call him as well. I mean, we got so many guys in the office coming in and out, making this night great. We got Claude Martinez, you know, doing everything every week, and he's the guy. And again, our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, too, Rich Castillo. I mean, there's so many names to name, and it all is kind of it's just what makes this company so great. So many guys kind of putting everything together and just making it all go. So that's all we got. Again, for Rick Novak, I'm Mike Dewan here with the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.